want to ask if you, I'm an immigrant from the north. I'm from Canada, and I've personally found it heartbreaking, the zeitgeist shift against immigrants, and it's especially been harsh with immigrants of color, Latinos, Latinx, whatever. Like it. How do you feel about that? I hit the term diversity. You can often lose people at hello, but U.S. has always been a mecca for talent from around the world. How, from where you sit, you're on many boards, you're obviously writing books. What do you see as the shift?
You know, I think the shift has been that as the population of, for lack of a better term, minorities has grown, I think the risk that it poses to Americans that were born here, as we like to say, and I say that in that harsh tone because that's the harsh divisiveness. Um, Everybody is an immigrant, right? By and large in this country,
Exactly.
we've just forgotten that we came from different places, and you get a generation or two in, and now you're here, and you don't accept, we forget the value that this nation and this democratic way of life has afforded so many people. And despite the bias that has grown over time for many reasons, political or otherwise, that have been fomented by people, all that kind of stuff that you go through. We're forgetting the basic facts around this. So I try not to be overly emotional, and it's hard because of my upbringing. Of course, he's going to be supportive of this. Of course, he's going to take that view. But I've really made it a point, along with some partners, about educating the world about the Latino and Latina community in America. First of all, you can think of them as big and growing. They are 20% versus 13% African Americans, so they've grown. They're also more affluent than they used to be, more educated. They vote.
Mm-hmm.
And from an economic perspective, and we do a study on this every year, if you measured the economic viability of the Latino cohort in America, it would, if you measured it in GDP-like measurements, it becomes the seventh largest nation in the world by its economic power, all inside the United States. So when we speak to capital allocators, CEOs that run companies and industries, like, this ain't a brown thing. This ain't a gimme thing. This is a business thing. I mean,
Yeah.
your major growth is predicated on this Latino community being your main customer or larger and growing customers. Why wouldn't you run advertising that involves them? Why wouldn't you listen to them and build products that? Because one thing you learn about the Latino community, it is loyal, it's technologically savvy, it's leading edge, and so we put all the reports out there. So I think of it in that regard, that it's a strong and vibrant community that can do a lot of good. Immigration specifically, again, facts. The aging of our population is growing, and the growing base of millennials and Gen Z and Gen X happens to be infinitely more diverse than you thought, and because of the size, largely Latino. And so, and then the world, our economy has run for so long with this immigrant sort of workforce that has done so many of the jobs that, I know that people like to say, whoa, they're taking our jobs. It's like, there is no one in America
No, I think
wanting
it's
to
the
do
secret
those jobs,
sauce.
right? We know, and so we're facing a crisis in the workplace where we're going to have less and less workers because you're restricted. So is there a thoughtful bridging of viewpoints that allows immigrants from, not just because Mexico gets the brunt of it because that's the nation they come, but as you know, the journey starts way in South
Yep.
America, and they make that trek for such a long period to the promised land only to be turned back. I think there's viable solutions that can take into account the facts that impact our nation, workforce, for instance, that can be done. And if we looked at it from that perspective, as opposed to, oh, they're are taking our job, or they look different, they don't speak the language, all those things can happen. But I didn't speak the language. I came across the border in a town where there was no border crossing.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up my entire life with any formal documentation until I had to go back. And I'm not ashamed of it because I was ignorant. I didn't know I wasn't anything. But again, I think I've been a good and productive citizen to this great nation. And there's many people out there like that we are forbidding from coming because we're into this emotional, non-fact discussion about they're taking our jobs and that anger that comes with it.